Let's get salty!
Hey everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, the final video, at least for me, of 2025. And I thought, what better time than to do our annual recap of all the major events that happened throughout the Hearthstone year. Last year, we said basically it was the worst year in Hearthstone history. There was more controversy than ever. There was more discontent in the Hearthstone metagame than ever. It was just a bad year. And I thought, well, let's take a look this year. Was it any better? And I will say, yeah, I'd say it was better. A lot less controversy, at least. A lot less playable cards as well, as we'll talk about. But yeah, we'll go through it, the good, the bad, I don't know, the ugly, and not just about the Lego that I've acquired over the past year, where I'm actually planning on next year doing a separate Lego channel or brick building channel, because I've just been obviously obsessed with it. So let me know in the comments down below. Is that something you'd be interested in? Don't worry, I will not be putting it on this channel. Anyways, if you want to stay tuned for all the news and events in Hearthstone and enjoy this content on the channel, it'd be a great New Year's gift if you hit that sub button down below. Give the video a like, as it helps the channel out a ton. So Hearthstone started with a bang in January of 2025. Believe it or not, it's been less than a year that StarCraft was introduced into Hearthstone, and this set was the most impactful, the most game-changing thing we've ever seen in the history of Hearthstone. It effectively deleted every archetype that existed before it, and it was just StarCraft decks that were the nuts because of Grunty. This guy here was, okay, he was the worst part of it, but as you can see, all three of these hero cards ended up being 8 mana, and it was just insane. And I remember, I'll try and dig up the tweet if I can find it, where even Play Hearthstone tweeted me saying like how this was like a crazy set. And I will say, StarCraft, the first month or so, it was really fun. It was something totally different. The quote I keep saying throughout the entirety of this year was, StarCraft was fun until it wasn't. And then it was StarCraft, super repetitive, got pretty tiresome, and basically everything got nuked alongside of it. And yeah, this patch introduced some balance patches, which would be kind of a, you know, another thing that we saw throughout a lot of the year. Not nearly as many nerfs as the prior year, where they're trying to reset power level, but definitely a lot. And that was also a constant that we'll talk about throughout the year. But yeah, StarCraft started things off with a bang. And ironically, we also had our one and only twist update in 2025. The newest mode in Hearthstone actually is Duos newer. That's the Battlegrounds thing. It's more of like an add-on, but it's technically, I guess, newer than Twist. Anyways, the last update we got, we had the 2 reruns go from January to February, where we got this message of the wonderful Ungoro format will end with the February season, and then Twist will be on hiatus. We will have more information about future Twist seasons in a future update. As I'm recording this video, it is December 31st, and we have still not been provided a single update, not a single word of Twist. The only mention of Twist we have seen in the patch notes since this update was the nerf to Twisted Webweaver. Not really Twist at all, right? So we haven't heard anything, and that to me is a huge blemish on this year, though, that Blizzard wanted people to get involved in, wanted to be invested in, and less than 2 years since its launch, it looks like it's gone. I imagine the next announcement we'll get is it's likely deleted. I would imagine that's what they did with Duels, that's what they did with Classic, that's what they did with the Mercenaries. Other than Mercenaries, they didn't have to delete because they could just leave it static. It's never going to get affected. I don't know what's going to happen, but to me, that's a huge blemish on this year that I talked a lot about during the year. Also, we saw the return in-person event in Hearthstone, I believe since like COVID. Like, it had not happened in forever, and I got invited to it. That's right. We had the StarCraft, the Hearthcraft event. It was a big deal that they got StarCraft, so they had an in-person event with myself, Tars, Theo on Team Protoss, your favorite Protoss mage and Protoss priest. At the time, it was dunked on as the worst of the factions. We were going to get smoked smoke, but the priest mate over here helped carry the team. Theo did pretty well on Protoss Mage, but again, completely surreal experience that Blizzard flew me out to France to play Hearthstone. It is an experience I will never forget. I will always cherish, and I'm extremely grateful and thankful to Blizzard, even though I dunk on them a lot of the time about stuff. They still, you know, come on, Zeddy, let's have some fun. And it was a great event. There were other creators there too. It was awesome to meet them, but I wanted to shout that out. That is one of the best memories I've had as a Hearthstone content creator, and we had a great time, and I feel like people enjoyed the event, so I thought I would throw that out there. Hearthstone esports continued throughout the year, still scaled back to what it used to be. It all culminated with Zhao Ti becoming world champion. Really fun tournament, really good lineup, and I will say I'm really excited. We also got an announcement throughout the year that BlizzCon returning. It'd been gone for a little bit, and we found out that World Championships will be there when it's September of 2026. My plan is to be there, not really as a competitor, although I'll talk about that at the very end of the video. I will make sure to be there to try and cover it, get content. That'd be amazing. May have had some talks with people at Blizzard to try and make it all possible. Let's see what happens, but I am going to try my best to be there, and I think it's really cool that we'll have in-person worlds back, because it's been cool to watch these competitors play, compete, even when there's like, it's not in person, there's like no guarantee of getting any money. It's a really high like stakes, low likelihood of getting through, and there's still people that dedicate hours upon hours upon hours upon hours to qualify for things or fail to qualify. There's so many great competitors that really tried hard that didn't get there. The Norwisses of the world, McBannerface, awesome top tier players. If they got there, they could win world championships. They're that good, and even them, you know, sometimes you just don't make it. It's really difficult, and it'll be cool to see if more people will try to go for in-person. Again, I'm gonna end off the video with a bit of an announcement for not only myself and the channel, and a lot of cool stuff going on. Anyways, so that was really cool. The other big thing we got during the year, and this has been contentious to me, actually really kind of disheartening to me, was the Hearthstone Arena update, the Underground, which again, I was on board for, but with the way Hearthstone had failed new modes like duels, twist, again, we talked about mercenaries. I'm like, anytime they revamp, anytime they change something, they make it greedier and worse. And the Underground launch, if you weren't aware, they had the Underground Arena, a more hardcore arena where it had higher stakes, and then a regular arena that had the regular entry fee, but not the rewards. And you could draft different buckets. You get to draft a legendary, get 3 associated cards with it, or there's the quest now where you get like 5 associated cards with it. Definitely a huge highlight. I think it's been really cool to get that. And in the Underground Arena, after your first loss, you get to redraft 5 cards. You could put them in or not, whatever, sub whatever out. That's also been great. You also could draft a second legendary on the second loss, which they took away for no apparent reason, and it hasn't come back, and I think that's really lame. That just makes the drafts less interesting. I've let them know nothing has changed since then. Maybe it'll get updated later. I know I'm not the only one that feels that way, so that part was cool. But this reward structure was atrocious at launch, where you couldn't earn literally any gold in the regular arena, which you still can't, by the way, so that's pretty rough. And then the Underground, the only way you could do it was to roll Crowd's Favor, which had, or still does have, a very low percentage chance of being rolled. It started at 2,000, went to 1,000 after they improved things. I've only rolled it 6 times. 6 times since it launched. I've had well over 200 6-win or win runs or more, which means on average, if you're getting like 5% odds, I should have got at least like a bit more than that. Regardless, that was the only way to get gold. They reworked it so you could get gold other ways. It's still not great. And since the mode is launched, the seasons are longer than ever for the modes. And you know how many adjustments we got in this latest season that will likely end with the mini set? Since the update with the mini set and the expansion launches, we have had 0 adjustments. 0 adjustments in like over 2 months. Like any other mode would get adjustments. Even Wild has had nerfs since Arena has had any adjustments, and they don't like to nerf stuff in Wild at all, which makes no sense. Like, the seasons are longer. And again, we just take a quick look at HS replay, and the win rates of the arena mode right now, it's never been worse in disparity, where you have 3 classes here, 3 classes below 50%. We have 3 more below 45%, only 2 in the green, and they didn't feel there was any need for any adjustments for an entire season. Like, it feels like another mode they launch, they, you know, have some fanfare for, and it's kind of just left alone. And I don't like that. And for myself, I'm playing less and less of it, which ultimately I feel like has been the goal. You know, like to bleed gold, to get people back to just playing standard and battlegrounds, the modes we truly want people to be invested in. And it's really hurt that way. So the biggest mode launch of the year, or the only one really, just to me is fell flat again. And they have no one to blame but themselves, because the whole foundation with redrafting and the legendary stuff is really cool. It's all there. We just need a little bit of TLC, something, and, you know, update the rewards to be a little less worse than they are now. And they've just ditched that too. It sucks, because it should be booming, and Arena's been there since day one, and it's the mode that made me fall in love with Hearthstone. So for me to see it when it launched be in a really popular and interesting state to now where it seems to be less interest than ever in less than a year since the underground launch, that's brutal. Because I know a lot of like arena streamers were having some of the best viewership they've ever had, and it's actually gone back to being like less than it was before then. And I was one of those people that got that boost too. So I don't know. I really hope they step up their act in 2026 with the mode, but considering all the other modes, like I said, it's really hard to hope for that. But there is still, you know, a chance for the mode, because it's arena and it's great and it needs to thrive, and I really hope it does. And I was talking about, they really wanted to focus on standard and battlegrounds. We're not going to talk about battlegrounds because we're more traditional Hearthstone related, but we got 3 expansions this year, kind of. Did we? Yeah, I think we did. With Into the Emerald Dream, the Lost City of Un'Goro, and the most recent expansion, Across the Timeways. I'm not going to go into like the unique metas or crazy things that happen in each expansion, because it was honestly very limited. This was the most like milquetoast, boring year of standard in terms of things changing. Basically, they have stuck to their guns. They started with last year with this expansion, The Great Dark Beyond, where they said, we're going to start lowering power level. We think it's gotten a little too crazy, and we're going to dial things back. And StarCraft completely, you know, ignored that fact, but obviously, they wanted to sell a StarCraft crossover. They're gonna make it nuts. They did. But outside of that, yeah, they've stayed consistent. If you looked at my video on cards that have been nerfed, if you look at Whizbang and Perils, there's countless. And then you have these sets, it's a lot less. There are cards that were outliers. You had the Low, the Fire Rack, you know, stuff like that. And Elise probably in the future will likely get adjusted at some point. But overall, it was a lot of older strategies that were dominating. One would get nerfed, and then another older strategy would take the place, and then another older strategy. And now we're at the point where it's still a lot of older strategies doing well in Hearthstone. They're mostly just board based now. We don't have these infinite mana OTKs and scams. The biggest OTK deck out there basically is like Cycle Rogue, which is more of a high MMR thing and still very beatable, and Protoss Mage, which is incredibly slow, really annoying, but it can OTK you with the Colossus. But other than that, it's a pretty healthy Hearthstone meta, and we're looking at it currently as the year ended. It kind of resulted in, like, I think the best case scenario you can make without mass deleting those 2 expansions, Perils of Paradise and Whizbang, where you have a lot of tier A, a lot of tier B, a lot of variety. The game, in terms of its meta game, is pretty healthy. It's just really, really dull. It's a lot of stuff that we saw before this year even started, for the most part, with the obvious exceptions like Dragon Warrior recently emerged, but overall it's a lot of the older stuff. So meta-wise, not nearly as much discontent as the prior year. It's just been a lot of like, can we get to rotation, right? They have at least stayed consistent with their messaging, with the power level, that all 3 of these sets are very similar power level, that when these rotate out, they'll have a lot more of a chance to succeed. The problem I have with that is, at least for people like me, Into the Emerald Dream being about imbue and hero powers, and the Lost City of Un'Goro being about very repetitive quests, those are not strategies that really make me think, man, that'll be a lot of fun. However, Across the Timeways gave us fabled cards, and they are rad, they are awesome, and I hope they're the ones that can kind of dominate or do really well after rotation. Some are already doing the trick, like Sylvanas out there, but at least that gives me a bit more hope that, yeah, next year when rotation happens and it's going to be a whole new world, it won't be a worse new world, but it could be. But at least, again, I will give them a thumbs up. They were consistent on the direction that they want Standard to go. It's just a painful slog to get there. So overall, you know, the metagame, super dull, but I think it's an improvement over the last year, even though still not amazing by any means, but I can actually play ladder this year. Last year was a real stretch to get me to play there. And the biggest story of the year that is still going on, that to me is a pure negative other than lining the wallets of executives or, you know, funding the game. Hopefully it's funding the game. Pets for the first time were unleashed into Hearthstone with King Crush. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having this interactive pet on the board. They're adorable. We have 3 now total, I believe. There's a rabbit, and then there's like Arthas, right? So those were cool, and a lot of people love them. The issue is every single pet was chained with and coupled with a new monetization system that just disgusted and still disgusts a lot of people, the Darkmoon Faire, where effectively you had to gamble to get the pet. Like the first gambling thing, the first Darkmoon Faire Prizes, if you spent $158, you get all this stuff. But there's a small chance you could get King Crush, but it was 1 in 1,000 on your first roll, and it gets slightly better as you go along, but the odds are weighted so incredibly disgustingly bad for you that almost always you're gonna get King Crush on the 10th roll. It's gonna cost you $158, and they pretend to have transparency about it, but there's like 3 of these posts this week alone about the most recent Gamba with Rafam, of people like, why am I not getting it? I just unlucky? Because they don't read the fine print that no, you're not getting unlucky. That is the expected result. And they're going to continue doing these. We have one lined up. We've had 3 in a row. We're going to have 3 in a row. I think one starts really soon with like the Yogg portrait, and that really sucks. It's really gross. And I don't know, like, why could you not just sell this separately like they did everything else? It's a clear manipulation thing. There's no other excuse for it, and it works. It's proven to work. I can't count how many people I've queued into that have these things. It works, and it's the sad part of the gaming industry as we know it today, and Blizzard taking advantage of it. There technically is nothing wrong with it. It's not illegal. It's just an icky thing, and I really, really don't like it. I haven't really engaged with it. I did get this King Crush pet. I will, again, I've been very transparent. Blizzard gifted me the runestones to buy the first one, and I did, and I completely bashed it, and I'm not surprised they haven't done that since. Probably my fault. Sorry, other creators, but I gotta be honest about it. And I will say most other creators don't use theirs as well. It's just kind of gross. And unless, you know, again, I keep saying, if you're okay with it, like, oh, I want all this stuff, I am okay with spending $158 for it, that's totally fine. It's just the people that don't know, the people that spend that money not knowing, thinking they're chasing something that they can't actually get without spending a ton, and then they're basically losing money because they just give up, and that's how they make their money off of it. That's the people that really make the money, not the people that actually just want the things, because they'll buy it in the shop regularly anyways. Those are the type of people that would do that anyways. They're not making extra money from them, they're making from the people that don't know any better, and that really sucks. So we've had a bunch of them. They're clearly doing very well. And it even said here, I believe, we can't wait to hear your feedback. And they changed literally nothing when it's been, from what I could tell, entirely negative feedback. And I assume this will continue going. I mean, we already know it's going to continue going on to next year, and that sucks. However, we also saw at a very similar timing to all of this, more rewards than ever. If you look at the latest patch notes, we get more free stuff. We got the signature card update, by the way, which another thing, really cool. Very happy about that. But we also have seen more events. There is an event going on in Hearthstone always now. There's one going on, by the way, we'll go over, there's one starting today, which is really cool, where we get more free cards, free packs, cosmetics, all sorts of stuff than we ever did before. And my understanding from people I have talked to is a large part of this where there was one time we all got a free new and returning player deck. They can afford to do these things because of stuff like the Darkmoon Faire. It brings in so much money, and reopening in China a while ago, right? That's brought in so much more money. They can give players more stuff because yes, Hearthstone as it stands right now is more affordable and free to play accessible than it's ever been. Every year that is improved. It's still expensive if you want to play everything, but you can reasonably expect to get like 1 or 2, maybe 3 competitive decks completely free to play and be able to, you know, climb the highest ranks. I know there's people that have qualified. I think Gamer RVG qualified either for Worlds last year or really close to it. He had never spent a dime on Hearthstone. Like, it's totally possible, and it's become more and more possible over the years, and that's a great thing that we get more free stuff than ever. I can't knock that. It's one of the biggest positives I can give. Anytime anybody asks me, should I or can I return to Hearthstone, I always say, yeah, you get a free deck. There's a ton of free stuff. If you're not happy, you can just leave. You don't have to spend $1 to play and try out multiple things. Just avoid the gamba. Don't go into the gamba, and that has stayed true, and that's been really cool. And again, yeah, like today, starting December 31st through January 13th, there's 3 packs to get, an epic, and then they've been doing these like cosmetics you can get that like you have the protection on. If you've already got the cosmetic, you'll get something else or whatever. And for the first time ever, this has never happened in Hearthstone since this event system went live, you can get some gold. You get 10 gold, maybe with the daily 50% chance. Why not just give the 10 gold? That's lame. But every weekly, you're guaranteed to get 25 gold. It's not much, it's very little, but it's more than nothing, which is basically what we've always gotten before. So that's really cool. Like, these are great things that we still see progressing in Hearthstone, and that gets a big thumbs up for me. And I want to leave off the video with kind of my plans for the remainder of, or for next year. For next year in Hearthstone, I celebrated an amazing year with the friend stuff, but I do want to say I'm going to try and direct this channel more on a competitive level, just a little bit, where in 2026, I'm going to give an honest effort to try and qualify for a Masters Tour event. I don't think I have a chance in hell of qualifying for Worlds, but I'm on the Americas region, the easiest region to try and qualify for, like, yeah, a qualifier, right? You just have to finish, like, if you finish like top 50 one season on Americas, you're basically guaranteed a spot, right? There's no way I would get farther than that, but it could be really fun content, right? So I said I will most likely fail and rage quit. Pretty normal for me, but the content should be golden. So I'm hoping that'll lead to maybe some more gameplay videos. I did more this year than I've ever done before. And the part about it that's kind of bittersweet is the main reason I want to do this is the aforementioned, like I was talking about, the arena being such a frustrating, abandoned mess that I can't stand playing it these days. I'd rather play ladder, which I feel has been a lot healthier. I keep saying that. I'm not just making it up. I'm playing more and more ladder than before. So yeah, I even reopened my EU account, which I abandoned when the whole like battle pass, tavern pass thing happened. They added achievements where we're gonna climb to gold 4 on EU, have like a 9-star multiplier. I had enough dust left over from the old days to make 3 competitive decks. And yeah, we're gonna try and climb legend on EU. America's try and claw to a decent finish to qualify for a qualifier. And I'll just show, like, EU, I played quite a bit back in the day. I even have like a golden rogue, I have golden warrior, or 1,000 win warrior, almost 1,000 wins with mage, and 1,000 wins with druid. I play a lot of druid, where yeah, this is an account I basically hadn't played in years. So my big plan for the year for 2026, let's try and have fun in competitive Hearthstone, try and qualify, maybe, just maybe. And I'm hoping to launch, like I mentioned, the Lego stuff behind me and other brick building companies, try and get Zeddy bricks out there. I want to get that new YouTube channel going because I'm really passionate about that stuff and people have asked about it. So hopefully can get that channel up and running in the next month or two is fingers crossed, can do that. Anyways, that's it. Hope everyone has an incredible 2026. Hope 2025 was great for you. Feel free to share how you felt about Hearthstone in 2025, which to me was not worse than the worst year ever, but it wasn't a hell of a lot better. It was pretty milquetoast. It was pretty blah, and the Gamba definitely put a sour taste on everything. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a happy new year and stay salty, my friends.